Sunday, you might get a kick out of this. The Historical Society for Southeast New Mexico, Spooky Southwest Tales of Strange History.
Now that would be good.
That'll be Sunday afternoon, 2 to 3:30 at the Archives facility at the Historical Society for South New Mexico. Donna Blake Burchell and John LeMay will take you on a journey into the spooky Southwest with tales of strange history, including the cursed mummy of John Wilkes Booth. Do you know who John Wilkes Booth was?
Yes.
I'm wondering if there's people that don't know who John Wilkes Booth is nowadays.
Huh.
I know who John Wilkes Booth is.
They need to read a little history.
That's right.
Go back to your history classes in school and start teaching this stuff.
That's right. For those that don't know, he is the one who assassinated Abraham Lincoln. The Navajo Witch Purge of 1878. Ooh.
Yeah.
Plus assorted hauntings and ghost stories from around the state. Afterwards, they will sign books. Burchell's has Haunted Hotels and Ghostly Getaways of New Mexico. And LeMay has a new book, Mummies of the Americas. And John LeMay's written a number of history books. And so if you want to meet Donna and John and hear their stories and maybe get their books and have them autographed.
Give me an address. You told me a building. I need to know where.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with.
You know where you get downtown where the subway is and then you turn to go to Ruidoso?
Okay, we're talking about in Roswell. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't get that part.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's in
Yes.
Roswell. Okay.
Yes.
And then it's about 4 blocks. It's the big old historical house.
Okay, yes.
And then their archive building is right next to that.
All righty. Yeah, I know where that's at now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazingly enough, I say amazingly enough, it's that's the J.P. White house. J.P. White was a prominent person back in the day in Roswell, and then he built a building, office building, and that's where our Roswell office is, in the J.P. White building. So we're not in the J.P. White house, but we're in the J.P. White building.
You know, there's a lot of ghost stories and history in this state. I bought a book up in Cloudcroft that's Ghost Stories of New Mexico, Volume 1 or something. And it's each town in New Mexico, and there's people that have, excerpts, of course. But the fascinating part is at the beginning of each chapter or whatever for each town, it gives a history.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you've lived here the majority of your life doesn't mean you know squat, I found out.
That's true. That's true.
And I actually knew one of the ladies from Deming because I went to school with her son, and of course I knew her. She was a teacher. I never had her, but yeah. So, there's a lot of spooky buildings and places that are haunted and where you can experience. So if you're really into that and want to know more, this would be a great.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I know the Institute. There's ghost stories about the Institute, haunted areas over there. But I don't know that I've heard, you may have heard, is there a haunted building in Artesia? Or is there I'll get the book and, tell you what buildings around here. Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know that there's every town, obviously, because there's so many. But so there's some ghost stories for Artesia.
Yes,
Oh.
and there's places that had houses or buildings, that there was so much activity that people said, "I'm leaving." Most of it was not malicious,
right?
Which is a good thing because that can really be dangerous. Whether you believe or not, that'll make a believer out of you.
Right.
But yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I know that I've heard stories about Rebecca's up at the lodge at Cloudcroft, the NMMI in Roswell, but I don't know that I've read a whole lot about other haunted places in this part of
the Double Eagle in Las Cruces.
Okay.
Yeah, because that building that's where the land grant or whatever was signed. That has
There's a history there?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there's a room that has furniture in it that has a tendency to wear out, because even though it's not Carlotta's, she was a maid, the people that lived there, and, obviously since she was just the maid, but the son fell in love with, and the mother couldn't stand it, and so she was going to kill her, and she stabbed her son instead, and and then they both ended up dying, and
well,
so
that's why I need to go to the Roswell Historical Society on Sunday, because I'm sure we'll hear some of the spooky
a lot
stories.
of the workers at the Double Eagle, because it's a fancy restaurant. You know, Pepper's is in the front part of it, which is a more casual, and then you have the white tablecloths fine dining in the evening in the back. But they've all experienced things, like the glassware will get rearranged, or the silverware, or something will get broke, or the things become askew,
and there's
in
no
the night.
explanation for it.
No, all the doors are locked. If you're the last person there, I don't know that I would care to be the last person there in the evening. We had a meeting over there one time, and one of the ladies that was Keep Alamogordo Beautiful was one that was sensitive. In other words, she could feel presence or whatever. So we were in Carlotta's room where, the pictures and the furniture and whatever, and she had me take pictures to see if we saw any orbs or anything, and we didn't at that time, but she said, I wouldn't want to be in here by myself.
Wow.
Because whatever there was,
she was
very sensitive.
Yeah.
And there are people that are like that. They can sense a presence that we can't.
Yeah.
And
well, I think I've told this story before. The closest I ever came to this was at the station we worked at in Canton, Mississippi. And a gentleman that had been there for a long time told me the ghost of the former owner haunted the radio station. You could hear him thumping around. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. So I'm sitting up there one night, and I hear a thump. And there's nobody else in the building with me. And I look around. A little while later, thump. And so I go out into the hallway. I look down. There's nobody there. I'm the only person in the building. Thump. I hear it again. I traced it down. There was a teletype in a closet sitting on a rickety table. And every time the carriage on the typewriter went all the way to one side, the table would rock. And it would hit the side wall in that little closet, and it just kind of echoed as this thump. And so I figured it out. It wasn't a ghost or a spirit or anything like
Party
that.
Pooper.
And I showed, well, that's what the guy said. I showed it to him. I said, I found your ghost. And he was so disappointed. He wanted to continue to believe that was the ghost of his former boss that was hanging around.
Well,
the
our
station.
building is supposed to be haunted.
Oh, really?
Yes.
The old city hall?
The old city hall is supposed to be haunted. I know people that work there that have been there in the evening working late, and they'll hear a door slam or somebody walking and think there's somebody there and go out in the hall and look, and
there's nobody there.
There's nobody in the building, but yet,
no.
doors shut or something, or you can hear somebody coming up the stairs or walking or whatever. And now I have no clue as to.
You haven't experienced anything like
but
that.
I'm
okay.
well, and I have been there in the evening, not terribly late, but after dark. Of course, in the wintertime it's not hard to be there after dark.
Yeah.
I haven't ever experienced anything, and I think it would be kind of interesting. I don't know if I would be unnerved or if it would just be this is cool, because obviously there's never been anything malicious done by whomever it is or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it must be satisfied with the goings on in there. But history, it would be interesting to get a history lesson of way back to see if one could figure out who or what.
Well, we'll talk more about other things
Haunts.
on the other side of the news.